And welcome to our second service. I appreciate all you people who set your clocks forward. We had over the email, one of our ministers in Chicago area was talking about Dr. Carlton Whitehead. A number of years ago was the great minister of the Chicago church, that great church in Chicago, and it was the Spring Forward experience, and he put his clock back an hour. And the next morning, it was about 15 minutes before the service was starting, and he wasn't there. And they called. He was in the shower singing. And anyhow, he did make it on time, or did make it there to do the service. So I want to celebrate all of you as we move forward. This is a wonderful time. I was listening to the radio that they were talking about at this time of the year. How many feel the difference when you move it forward, and all of a sudden you're not quite up to it? Your subjective mind is catching up with the reality, is catching up with what's outside of you. And the same thing in your own experience. I think this is a good time to recognize that the subjective mind within us, sometimes, it's on automatic pilot. And if we want to get something changed in our life, as our life, what we need to do is wake it up and then direct it to do what? Do something different, because it is not what we are allowing ourselves to affirm, it's what we are expecting after the affirmation is given. Now, this morning our lesson is an important one. It is one that I have probably worked with as much as anything in my life as far as being a religious science student, and I have been studying this for 47 years. After a number of years of studying it, I had the privilege of working with some of the clearest and best teachers we've ever had, who pointed out to me that the problem with a lot of people who find this teaching is they are settling for just knowing about it. And they're not letting themselves move into the next level of understanding. And that is, Dr. P.D. Ouspensky said at the turn of the last century, is the experience we go through, where he pointed out that most people are sound asleep until you tell them they are. They wake up and say, "No, I'm not," and then go back to sleep again. That we have two stages of sleep, horizontal sleep and vertical sleep, walking around with our eyes open. And what he meant was that we are hypnotized to the way we were. We are hypnotized to the way we have allowed ourselves to accept ourselves as being. And even though we get a greater idea, we sometimes only allow ourselves to settle for knowing about the idea instead of being the idea. Dr. Fenwick Holmes wrote a wonderful book called Being and What? Becoming. See, it's not enough, again, to know about it. Antidote to Nincompoopery is my topic this morning. How many of you spent at least 5 minutes of your life in Nincompoopery? How many of you let Nincompoopery get in the way of greater good? How many of you let ideas about people, places, and things interfere with your happiness, with your love, with your joy, with your celebration of self? How many of you let Nincompoopery produce anger? Anger produces what? Dis-ease. Dis-ease produces what? Okay. Dis-ease thinking will show up somewhere, whether it's in your pocketbook, your relationships, or somewhere. Physical body, physical experience. Everyone get your hand out. We gave it this morning. Look at this statement here by Rich DeVos. The only thing that stands between a person and what they want in life is the will to try it and the faith to believe that it is possible. I love it. When I first got out of the service in 1961, I was very fortunate because someone handed me a 33 1/3 record. And that record was produced by Earl Nightingale. How many know who Earl Nightingale is? Okay, and Nightingale Conant, and they're very positive, all the positive stuff that's come out, and the self-motivation things that came out. And the name of the record was The Strangest Secret. See, that was the secret of that time. Okay, but it said the same thing, because what do you think the strangest secret that Dr. Earl Nightingale was talking about was? You are what you think about all day long. Okay, that was the strangest secret. Now, whether you know, I don't know if you know this, Earl Nightingale was a student of Ernest Holmes. And Earl Nightingale, back in the late 50s and early 60s, took what he got from the classes with Dr. Holmes and then sent it out to the public without the religious connotation. And everybody goes, "This is great!" Okay. But see, what happens is, and Emerson talked about it, our great-grandfather, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and then Ernest and Finn McComb said the same thing. When Emerson was on his circuit, he would go around to the town hall meetings all over New England and New York, and then he would come away and he would say, it's amazing what people will agree with on Thursday night and disagree with on Sunday morning. Okay. It's amazing what people will agree with on Thursday night and condemn on Sunday morning. So our challenge is to do what? To know that there's a power within us that doesn't know what day of the week it is. And the challenges we were talking about between services, because we were talking about the classes in Thomas Trord. And the wonderful thing about Thomas Trord is, even though he's using language of the last century and the turn of the century, what he's talking about is ultimate simplicity. And this is the thing about a metaphysical study, is we are studying simplicity. And a lot of times people don't know what to do with simplicity. They'd rather settle for Nincompoopery than go ahead and free themselves into the power of simplicity. If Jesus was right and it's done unto us as we believe, there's a law that backs that up, and the simplicity of it is coming from belief. Now, a lot of people have all kinds of things going on. When Coué came out with each day and every way, it's getting better and better and better and better, and each day, and he said, okay, say this 100 times a day and your life will improve. And guess what? People would say it 100 times a day and their life would improve. Okay, now, was it because they were saying it 100 times a day? It's because they believed if they said it 100 times a day. And this is what we're dealing with. See? The challenge is everybody who has a belief system that works for them, that's what we want to celebrate that. But our study in metaphysics and the simplicity and the power of simplicity is the realization it may not be the technique you're using. What the technique you're using is backed up by a belief that the technique works. So is it the technique or the belief? Now, what if you could just get rid of the techniques and be the belief? And be the belief. Okay. I'm a child of the 60s. We went through all kinds of stuff. Nam yum yo ring it kyo, nam yum yo ring it kyo. You know, so yeah. Okay. And all this other stuff we did, and it was all kinds of fun, and you met all kinds of wonderful people. And I can beat anybody at domino? No. Anyhow. Okay.